What's up, guys? This is my lower B workout, which is posterior chain for me, so glutes, hamstrings, and calves primarily. First movement you see here is sumo deadlifts. The reason I switched to sumo deadlifts rather than conventional deadlifts is because sumo deadlifts involve your hamstrings and glutes a lot more, whereas conventional uses a lot more spinal erectors and the rest of your back. And I feel like I need to bring up my legs this off season, so that's what I'm doing. And just like my other exercises, if you've seen my lower A and upper A workouts, the set and rep scheme is about the same. 4 sets of 6 here. I think that's 375 pounds, I want to say. And I'm pretty sure I got all 4 sets. So that was some good progress. The only thing I'll say is that this footage is pretty old. I'd say like 2 weeks old. And this is before I learned how to properly use my legs in a sumo deadlift. Because like I said, sumo deadlifting is pretty new to me. So you'll notice I'm kind of trying, it looks like I'm kind of trying to keep my hips stationary while I pull up with my back, which is completely wrong for sumo deadlifts. Ideally, you would be using what's called leg drive, and the idea of leg drive is basically when you set up to the bar, you get your hips pretty far back, about as far back as you can get them. Not necessarily as low as you can get them, but as far back. And the idea of leg drive is that you're going to start the movement with your legs. So you're going to drive up with your legs while maintaining the angle of your spine. That's important. So you're going to drive up with your legs, and then you're going to finish the lift by powering your hips through. The most important thing about this is when you use leg drive, you have got to make sure that your hips don't rise faster than your shoulders. If your hips rise faster than your shoulders, then basically what you're going to end up doing is sort of a Romanian deadlift with a really wide stance, and that's just really hard on your spinal erectors and kind of defeats the purpose of doing sumo deadlifts in the first place. So yeah, this particular footage is not a good example of form. Well, with the exception of the leg drive thing. But moving on, the next exercise is Romanian deadlifts or stiff-legged deadlifts, whatever you want to call them. I like to do these just because it gives sort of a good stretch towards the bottom, and these are actually pretty hard. And you'll notice that's, I think, 315 pounds for 4 sets of 6, which seems like kind of a lot of weight. But actually, I think a lot of people, it seems like they're sort of like scared or uncertain about using heavy weights with this exercise. But you've got to keep in mind that progressive overload doesn't just apply to certain exercises. Progressive overload applies to everything. So even lifts like this, where it might seem sort of scary to use that kind of weight, because it is really easy to injure yourself, you just got to keep in mind that if what you're doing feels like it's too easy, then it probably is. And if you're able to do it successfully over and over again, then you've got to increase resistance or number of reps or number of sets. And also, as long as your form is good, you should be totally fine. So on this exercise, the one thing I'll point out, if you haven't seen my old workout footage, is that you've always got to make sure to keep your weight over your heels and sort of drive through your heels. It kind of feels like if your leg was a nail, you'd be driving into the ground through your heel, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so that's my second exercise. And then I do actually 2 calf exercises on this day. This was Smith machine calf raises, and I actually really didn't like this Smith machine just because it was, I don't know, it felt sort of funny because the angle was a lot more than I'm used to. So yeah, I made it work though. And then my second calf exercise was angled calf raises. If you want to see what that looks like, you can go check out my lower A workout. But then after that, I moved on to lying leg curls. And just like all the other exercises, again, 4 straight sets. I mean, this is pretty basic with the leg curls. Just make sure the machine is adjusted correctly. Try not to just, jerk the weight around too much, especially on the way down. Try not to drop the weight on the way down if you can. And I mean, like I said, it's a pretty simple exercise, hard to mess up on. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to mention, if you're wondering why I'm wearing these tights, because I do look pretty silly wearing tights in the gym. I'll be the first to admit that. But the reason I was wearing these is because I had this idea that whenever I do sumo deadlifts, or a lot of the times when I do sumo deadlifts, the bar tends to hit me in the shin. I'm sure a lot of you guys know that feeling. And I didn't have long socks, so I bought tights, thinking that they would protect my shins, and that actually didn't work at all. So I'm gonna go buy some long socks. But anyways, last exercise of the day was single leg curls. Some gyms will have a machine that looks like this. Others will have the one where you're completely standing up. They both work really well. The way I like to think about it is that your hamstring is basically like the bicep of your leg. And just like when you're training biceps, you occasionally do barbell exercises where you're curling with both arms at the same time. You also occasionally do single arm exercises where you're alternating or doing one at a time. So same principle applies to your legs. And in a lot of ways, it's probably more important because it's your legs, not your arms. But yeah, that's about it for this workout. Hope it was helpful for you guys. Stay tuned for my other workout footage. I've got the last workout of my split coming up. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe.